welcome Margaret Josephs to the show. Welcome. We are so excited to have you. As we all know, Margaret Josephs is on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, but she is so much more. She is an entrepreneur, right? She is an entrepreneur. She's a fashionista. She has 3 companies. She has been through a lot in her life. She was born to immigrant parents. She's been through a lot of struggles, and she's here to tell us about her childhood, how she got to be so successful on Bravo TV, and some really good secrets for successful women, women empowering women. We will get to the audience a little later to hear all of your questions about the show, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, and you'll get some of the dirt. But we're going to get to know Margaret a little bit first and find out about you. So welcome to the show, Margaret.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
That's great.
That's a beautiful introduction. Thank you. A lot to live up to. Thanks.
We're glad you're here. So the book, Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget. You lay it all out there on the line for that book. You talk about your childhood. You talk about your mother, who you're so close with today, but some of the struggles growing up with a single kind of wild mother and some of the trials and tribulations that you've been through. So what inspired you to write this tell-all book for the world? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I wrote Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget because I feel everybody knew my public persona from the show. And no one really knew the backstory of my life, how I got there. I didn't get on the show till I was 49. I'm now 55, though I look much younger since all my plastic surgery. Just saying. But, and I've always had people writing to me and saying, Margaret, how'd you start your business? Your relationship with your mother is so interesting. I got divorced. I have issues with my children. You don't have kids. And I was like, yes, I do. I have a biological son. I raised my stepchildren. So I was like, you know what? It's time to write a book because I've been through so much in my life. I've had many lives, many careers. And it was time to really tell the story of how I got to where I was and how many times I had reinvented myself and pushed through a lot of tough times. And I thought it would be inspirational because people do suffer and there's no overnight success. So I thought it was time to really tell the real story.
The real story. Well, you've been very successful. Thank you for being a friend of Dress for Success, too. And make sure that you buy the book because some of the proceeds go to Dress for Success. And, you know, you're a friend as well as a lot of the other housewives of Dress for Success.
Yes,
so thank
Dress
you.
for Success, so important.
Yeah. So, Gabby, I think you have a question.
Yes. First page I turned into the book, you know, was all about that vibration and that connection about, you know, your parents were from Hungary.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And they came over, and the lifestyle you had there, and your mother, Margaret Senior.
Yes,
right?
Marge Senior.
Marge Senior. Lovely. I like the lady. You know, she always escaped under the phrase, "We are European," and that totally resonated with me because, sorry, my son, but that's a phrase that I use often. So, but what I'm interested to know is, what did it mean to you at that time?
Well, growing up with Marge Senior, I want to do a little backstory. My mother came here in 1956, just with the clothes on her back, rode on a bicycle into Austria because it was the, I don't know if you guys watched the season at all, but we spoke about it a little bit. It was the uprising again. The Russians were coming in. So her and her parents had went over the border into Austria because Austria had opened up the border from Hungary so that Hungarians could escape. She was on the first plane coming in to the States. And she, you know, was a little girl, didn't speak English. My grandparents cleaned houses because, you know, they couldn't speak English. They had a hustle and everything else. So, you know, they weren't the most traditional. You know, little kids in Europe drink coffee, things like that. So it's very funny. At age 4, I was drinking coffee. You know, I didn't realize when I had gone to kindergarten, you know, when I was telling the teacher, "What'd you have for breakfast?" I was like, "Oh, I had a cup of coffee and some Oreos." So when I went, you know, which is not obviously a healthy breakfast, and my eggs were fried in bacon grease and things like that. So when I went home, my mother's like, "Well, we're very European," you know, and her excuse for everything that wasn't traditional American was, "Well, we're European." European things we're very comfortable with nudity in my house. And because I feel like Europeans are much more comfortable with their bodies, be it whatever size you are, and very body positivity compared, at the time to Americans. So I was very comfortable being naked. That's a running joke on my show as well. They're like, Margaret's always naked and very comfortable. It upsets my husband very much because he's like, you're walking around naked in front of the window. So that was the whole thing also. My mother was like, well, we're very European. We're very comfortable with our body. Be comfortable. We're European. So that was the story growing up. So the excuse, everything also for strange behavior on my mother, I think she also used it as an excuse, was like, well, we're very European, sweetheart.
That's amazing. And Marge turned 75, so happy birthday
Yes.
to her in the
Oh,
last
thank
season,
you.
right?
Yes,
So you had
Marge
a
Senior.
grandiose party for her,
Yes,
which looked
big
fabulous.
big Hungarian theme party for Marge Senior.
And before turning out to, you do need to get the book because actually Margaret, in every end of the chapter, she gave us little tips of life lesson about, how to navigate life in the high, So yes. I like that very much.
And the reason I brought this copy was the paperback is because this is a bonus chapter from the original book, and that I interview Marge Senior. So that's why I brought this book, because it was important.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Marge, I am so excited to meet you in person because I didn't realize that you were an entrepreneur. I'm a single mother, and I know that you grew up with a single mom, and that you build these companies right off your coffee table, or I should say your island, your beautiful island with your crumb cake and your coffee. I love the idea that you built something out of nothing and build it into millions of dollars. But you know the part that I enjoy the most when you say your definition for setback. Can you share with them what setback means to you?
A setback means the comeback is always stronger.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had. I've had numerous setbacks, and thank you for saying that. It's I started my own business when I was married to my ex-husband in my kitchen. It is true, and because I had my son. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was a dress designer prior to that. And I was like, I have to be creative. I have to do something. And I started decoupaging. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but basically it's like, the art of it's like almost like wallpaper, attaching it to products. And I did it on buckets. And the buckets I bought at Home Depot. And they were known as Macbeth buckets. If you Google it right now, they still come up. And I was monogramming them, and I sold them to a local store, and they sold out in one day. And my partner and I at the time, who left the company very early, were like, oh, let's just do the New York gift show. We put our name on the gift show, and it was very of the moment. It was very shabby chic-y looking. They were very kitschy, and we got like $100,000 in orders. I was like, oh my God, I'm buying my buckets at Home Depot. Now what am I going to do? I have $100,000 in orders. How am I going to sell these stores? Magazines thought it was great. We were a small little company. I had to borrow money from my now he's my ex-husband, my husband at the time, and we were in business. And I just figured it out. And I figured it out. We were on the O list 6 times. We grew into an amazing business. I will say it was very successful. I was very blessed, but it was a real hustle. I mean, I was up all night, 24 hours. I had to open a factory over the years. It was a lot of fun, and I was very lucky. But then I had setbacks. I mean, listen, I was sued. I had things that I didn't know about, but I learned on the fly.
You know which part I love the most? When you go to Isaac at the restaurant, when you're having lunch with your mom and
Yes.
you confront him. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. At one point, there's a very funny story. When I first started my business, I made everything domestically in this country. Then I had gotten into licensing, where we designed all our own prints and patterns. And licensing is basically you get paid on royalty, where you license out your brand so other people make products for you and you get a percentage of it. So at that point, I was licensing, I was in kitchen textiles, I was in tech accessories in Walmart. We were the first female brand in Walmart when iPhone cases were only black and brown and everything else. We were the first female brand in Walmart doing $10 million a year. Amazing. It was crazy. But I got involved with this other company that wanted to license with me, but one of the it's crazy. It was like a war. Another company that I was doing my tech brand with was like, well, I don't want you to do business with them. I was like, okay, I won't do it. Well, they got upset and sued me. P.S. froze my bank account. The lawsuit got very, very big, and I was hemorrhaging out money. And I had already gotten on the show, and I was having this horrible lawsuit, and I was like, this is going to bury me. And I ran into Isaac, this guy, in a restaurant with my mother, and I see he comes in with his wife. And I was like, I can't have any dealings with the attorneys. It's not settling. And my mother goes, go over there, Margaret. Just go over there. I go, Ma, he's with his wife.
That sounds like
and,
Marge.
you know, Marge said, go. I walk over there, you know, my high heels. I had my pigtails in. It was the summer, like my boobs were out. And he's like, you know, at the height of the table. And I go over to him and his wife, and I go, Isaac, I can't do this anymore. My mother's upset. He, like, gets nervous because he's like, what's she saying to me? My mother's upset. I confront him. And the wife's like, why do you know her mother? Who's this girl? Why are they upset? What's going on? I'm like, you know, you have to stop doing this. I can't sleep at night. She's like, what's going on, Isaac? What's happening here?
What
and
a
I was
great
like,
story.
and then I go, oh, no, we're in a lawsuit. I said, you know, and then she goes, oh. I go, call your partner, Morris. I'm coming in on Monday. And I settled it myself. Like, I mean, some things I'm
That's
very much into
amazing.
take the
Let's
bull
give her
by
a
the
round
horn.
of applause for that. That's like,
being direct, being right
You
in
have
front
to
of
be
it.
direct, and you have to fix your own problems.
yeah, that's an
A lot.
amazing story. I love it. And Joan, do you have a question?
Yes, Marge. You know, you wear many hats. You're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, you're a TV personality, you mentor young women. How do you find the work-life balance? I mean, how do you do it all?
Lots of coffee.
You started very young with that coffee.
No, I started very young. No, I will say, you know, everyone's like, can you have it all? Can you do it all? You can't have it all at once. And something does have to give. And I think women beat themselves up a lot, feel a lot of guilt feelings. And I feel I do a lot, but some things do give. Sometimes, you know, I'm not working out and I'm, you know, puffing up, but I don't beat myself up about it because I want to enjoy my time with my family. Or sometimes my business, I am ignoring it a little bit. I don't want to, but you can't have it all at the same time. And I think that's really true. But I do my best, and I try and prioritize what's on fire at that time. You know,
We learn as women to juggle it all.
which it is, and we juggle, and that's what we do. But the truth is, something does suffer at all times. But that's life, and that's what that's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's great. That's great.
I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on the mentoring question. You know, these young women nowadays, they need, I develop confidence, and I'm a confident person, and I teach that to other young people. Now, you going through all that you've did throughout your life, how did you find the confidence to keep going? Can you encourage somebody?
Yes, I will say, I was blessed with Marge Singer, though I have said things about her in the book. You know, she was wild. I was very parenting to her. The one thing she always said to me was that you can do anything, and she gave me a lot of inner confidence. But the other important thing was, my first person I ever worked for, my first boss was a woman, Vicky Ferrara, and she was a great mentor. She didn't hold me back. She didn't feel threatened. She always lifted me up and was like, you could do better. Taught me how to do things, taught me to be my best self. And I think that's very important for me. I work with a great team of young women. I always have young women that work with me. And I always encourage them to learn to do better. It's so important to have a mentor and mentor other young women. I mean, a lovely young girl, Lisa, who worked with me for 2 years, she had reached out to me. I always say I'm much more accessible than people think. We always make a joke about it. Because literally she had just emailed me, and Lexi said she sounded amazing. She worked for me for 2 years, and she was crying when she said, I think I'm going to go to another job. I said, go. I'll write you a recommendation. That's, you can't be with me forever. I understand, this isn't your lifelong goal to follow me around the house, and help do my social media. But it's like she said, I gave her the confidence, and I taught her things, and I taught her how to speak to people in a confident way. And I think that's what's so important, because you want to lift people up to be their best selves and grow, and and they'll come back into your life. And I think that's what's so important. We can't be competitive with each other. Right. That's what it is, because there's enough, everybody could shine bright. Someone else shining bright's not going to put out your light. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that, and that's not the way it is. There's room for everybody at the table.
So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
No, it is.
It is. So talking about competition, I want to get a little into how you got on the show, because I'm sure there's so many people in New Jersey that wanted to be on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And I know that knowing Lexi and understanding a little bit about your background, you had some other shows and some other things in the works. So tell me how you got onto the show and tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh, it's
It's a
actually
journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. No, I got on season 8, but season 6 I was doing another show. It was called Pigtails and Power Tools. My agent at the time, Amy Rosenblum, who I love very much, I'm going to quick tell you that story. She had always I went to her for media training because I was going on CNBC and for business, and I went in with my pigtails, and they were like, "You're not going on CNBC with your pigtails." And I said, "I'm not going on CNBC with my pigtails." And then she was like, "Oh no, oh no." And I was like, "Yes, I am." So I went on CNBC with my pigtails at the time. She's like, "Oh, you're a character. You should do a show. You should be on TV more." So I became a lifestyle expert. I was doing all segments on Fox 5, on CBS. NBC would not put me on because I wasn't middle America enough, because I had pigtails, by the way. And that NBC owns Bravo. Things obviously changed. But with that being said, she said, "You should do a reality show." It was picked up, Pigtails and Power Tools, because Joe and I both worked out of the house, not the house we have now. That's a whole other story.
That's a long process.
That's a long process. And we were booked for that show. Season 6, I was ready to do that show. Season 6 Housewives had come to us, and they spoke to me, and they said, "We would love to have you on the Housewives." I let them tape me, and I was like, "Oh, it's like a joke." They called up, they said, "Bravo wants you to be the next housewife." I said, "Oh, I can't do it. I'm doing my own show." They called up, tried to get me out of doing my show. But at the time, my business was doing great. Everything was fabulous. I'm doing my own show. "No, I'm not doing Housewives. It's not for..." I would never do Housewives. That's it. I was like,
TV.
yeah, I was like a real snot. P.S. 2 years later, Margaret sued, bank account frozen. I just moved into my house. Joe and I literally just moved in. My show didn't take off, and I was living there for 6 weeks, and my girlfriend Jody Goldberg comes over. She goes, "They're looking for the Housewives again." I said, "You wouldn't do it." I said, No. I'm not too proud. Wait a minute. I would do it. So she goes, "Oh, I'll tell the producer." They called, whatever. And they called me up, and I did a quick interview. Literally within 2 weeks, they're like, "You're the new housewife." I didn't have to go through like a whole crazy thing. But it was just very funny because I was like, "Oh my God." It was just full circle. But I think it was timing.
Yeah.
It was
what
really
age were
timing.
you? When
49.
See?
49.
You can reinvent yourself. At
Yeah,
any
so
age.
it was just,
Never
it
too
was
late.
it was just like one of those things.
Yeah, that's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
That is awesome.
So what is something that you would tell your younger self that you've learned over the years, whether it's on the show or writing the book, a lesson for your younger self?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Literally, because I mean, even now, sometimes I have to tell myself that. The things I hyper focus on, or that I did when I was younger that I thought was important, really wasn't important. And I think, everything will pass. It'll be okay. Because I think we worry about things, and where you start in life is not where you're going.
Right.
And I think everybody thinks like your first career, the first thing you're going to do is going to be your defining moment, and you're not going to be able to change it, and that's not the way it is. So everyone's so worried about their first job or their second job, and oh my God, I'm going to be stuck here, and this is going to change my entire life, and I'm never going to be successful, and that's not true, because at any given point in your life, you can make a change. I mean, any day you can make a change.
How you're always willing to have a new experience. Now, I know that your childhood was a little challenging. When you shared the story, I was reading, I was like, "Ay, Dios mío, oh my God, what's going on here?" This poor girl, what's going on? But I love how you saw it in a light of positivity. You always said, "At least my mom was fun, and she was happy, and she encouraged me, and she made me happy." Now, there are some young people here. What would you say for those that have the hang up of, "Oh, my mom wasn't great," even to those that you try to be a great mom to?
No, I think you have to look at it from the perspective of your parents are human. Everybody, most parents, I'm not going to say every parent, right, tries to do the best they can. And you try and make the positive out of every single thing. Because, listen, my mother was the fun mom, right? Everybody wanted to sleep at my house. Now, I didn't realize she was nuts until I went to therapy. Even though even though she's amazing, even though, she's amazing, she was great. And listen, sometimes I get PTSD and I'm 55 years old, so I'm like, Mom, don't drink. I have a freak out. But you have to look at it from the perspective of take the good, you realize what's not good, and just focus on the good stuff. And that's really what you have to do. And then you will make your own decisions as you get older, and you be responsible for your own life. And you're not responsible for their behavior. And I think that's really what it is. And you're not responsible at all for anything that your parents do. I mean, that took me a long time to learn, FYI.
It's a big lesson, definitely.
It is a big lesson.
I had a quick question. I'm sorry, Gab.
Yeah, sure.
You talked about your relationship with Beth and your ex-husband at the time. It's in the book, guys. You got to get a book.
You gotta get a book.
So, with that, do you think that if Jan wasn't in the way, you and Beth would still be friends and you would still be in business together?
Beth was my first business partner from Macbeth. No, I don't. Even though Jan encouraged me to end my partnership with Beth, I think I felt bad about it, but he was correct in it. Because Beth and I had very different visions, and I think Jan saw that early on. And I am somebody who does see the positive in a lot of things, and I hold on to people. I don't lose people. I have people in my life like since kindergarten. I'm still friends with, so I think that would have been it. I would have loved to still be friends with her, but I think it was friends and business, FYI, also don't mix.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Friends and money, friends and business, I've learned that also. I've learned it the hard way because I've done it numerous times. I tell myself I'm never doing that again, and then I do it again. All the time. Don't do that.
But to follow that question, because all through the book, you really surround yourself with people that are part of your tapestry.
Yes.
And yes, and you say, friends and money doesn't mix, but really you take them under your wing, and they have been with you for a long time. So how do you really make it happen on a regular basis? Meaning, do you really have a hard line of you my friend, you my business friend?
No, I think the people who've worked with me and have grown with me have become my family. Like Lexi's been with me since she came to this country for 14 years. I think people on the show don't realize that. They're like, some people always ask who Lexi is, whatever. She's been with me for 14 years. She's like my sister.
That's amazing.
Yes, she's like my sister. So we grew my business together from the ground up. So she's my family.
Absolutely.
So, and I think everybody who's been with me forever in my business has become part of my family, and I think that's what it is. When I say friends and money, meaning like I started businesses with people I've been friends with, and then if everybody's not making money, then you get screwed.
Yeah. Right.
That we haven't done. That's not the thing we've done. But everybody who is part of my life, even like my hairdresser, has become very, you're so part of your life every single day. You're so bonded and so intimate, and you share so many stories together, happy things, sad things, and you champion each other. That's why what it is. Everybody becomes so part of a family.
I see that loyalty that you have for your friends throughout the show, and that's great. And Lexi is unbelievable. We like to even see more of her in the show, so maybe she'll be one of the next Real
I probably
Housewives
shouldn't be
coming
announcing
up.
this,
She
but
may be cast.
I mean, it's been discussed. We're going back to filming very, very, very soon.
So
When
you
I
had
say very
just a
soon, I
short
mean
break.
very.
You just had a short break from
We ended last season, but you filmed confessionals all throughout the season. Reunion was just a few months ago, and it just aired. I mean,
Talk to me about some surprises maybe that happened at the reunion that you weren't expecting from the other housewives. That was a great reunion,
it was.
by the way.
I don't know if it was upsetting. I think when Joe Gorga stormed off,
Yeah.
I
He
didn't
left the
expect that. I
stage.
didn't expect him and Teresa to really fight like that. It was a very long day. It was that was 14 hours of filming. It's crazy. It was exhausting. It was just nothing was. I was surprised Dolores and Jennifer were fighting.
Yes.
that relationship is severed for sure.
So the Joe Gorga, do you think that men on the show this season, they definitely got more involved with some of the women's issues, I noticed, and that's very unusual, and Joe Gorga, you mentioned, might have been, the start of that, and I think that's why he walked off, because people were saying he's too involved. Do you see the men getting
he's
involved?
not too involved.
He's not too involved.
He's the best. I
See,
love
that's
him.
great. That's
See,
what they
no.
were trying to portray a
No,
little
well,
bit,
that's
some
what
of the other
Teresa said,
housewives.
but no, he's loved and needed, and
That's amazing.
he is a great brother. No, I could never say he's a saint.
That's great, because that was sort of why he walked off. He felt a
walked-
little not appreciated, I think.
he really brings a lovely lightness and fun,
Right.
and sometimes he makes my husband drink a little too much. But besides that, he's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think that the whole Teresa and Joe relationship, it's so volatile. Like, it's always up and down between them. And the sister, what's the sister-in-law's name? I keep forgetting. Melissa, who's adorable.
The best, yes.
Who's adorable. But for a while there, when Teresa had to be incarcerated due to her husband's mismanagement of the business, I feel so bad, because she was so young and she really didn't know what was happening. But she's a whole different Teresa today. I feel like she's on point. One thing I enjoyed about Andy.
That's one way to put it.
No. On point in business.
Yeah, she's definitely
In business, not in friendships, obviously.
No. She's I agree.
So-
In business, she's much better. But, humble. We're not.
Oh, no, she's not humble, no. Now, Andy says to her to get a prenup. How do you feel about that?
She should absolutely have a prenup. I said it right away. I mean, whatever I say upsets her.
Yeah.
But no, of course she should have a prenup. And when she says something like, "Well, he is more than me," I've said to her, he could, but tomorrow it could all be gone. Anybody's money could be gone in a split second. I mean, I've had it happen to me. It's like it goes, it comes, it's whatever it is. You have to protect what you've worked so hard to build. It's your second marriage. I just don't understand why you just can't say, this is for me and my daughters, that's for you and your kids. What we build together, we could split. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
I agree with you on that point, definitely.
Especially after being incarcerated.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure.
I have to ask this question. It's from
One
the
more
book.
question, then we'll
One
go
more
to the
question. So this question's from the book. So you talked about the foreigner guy, the singer, right?
Yes.
And so I'm so curious. In the back of your mind, did you kind of know that I'm going to do this because I want the marriage to end? Not that the marriage was ending, but you just wanted that
That's the
marriage to
question.
be done.
My marriage was, I know, it's funny that you're asking this because
little
that
juicy.
got so much press, and I was like, Jesus. I was like mortified. I was like waiting to get like a hostile phone call. My marriage was over. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. I mean, I was in therapy for my first marriage. Everyone's like, she cheated. She left her husband for the contractor. She was this. No one leaves a happy marriage, and
Correct.
And of course, my dream, groupie moment to just sleep with the lead singer of Foreigner. I mean, I did put. All right, listen, I couldn't help myself. I was like.
That question had to be asked, Margaret.
His hair was so much better than mine. That's what I said to Lexi. All I could do was look at his hair. I was like, look at that hair.
Wow.
You are obsessed with hair.
But his butt was
I don't
smaller
have
than
good
yours.
hair.
His butt was smaller than
And
yours.
his butt was smaller than mine. I was like, that was not for me.
That's great. That's great. So at this point in the show, we are going to open up to the audience. I know you've been so patiently waiting to ask some great questions. We have Justin Michael, who is going to round up some of those questions for us, our fashionista trendsetter, Justin Michael.
All right. Do I have a Jamie? Would you like to ask your question to Margaret?
Sure. Hey, Margaret. How are
Hi,
things
Jamie.
right now with you and Melissa?
Melissa and I, very, very close. I mean, we speak on the phone almost every day. It's, on this show, I think our show works so well because we all have real friendships and bonds. So, yeah, we're great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Next, I have Phoenix.
So I appreciated your transparency with professional setting. What advice do you give young women that you're mentoring now if they ever find themselves in a position like you did?
I think young women now, speak up right away. Please feel confident. You did nothing wrong. Don't feel shame. You did not bring it upon yourself. and to please feel comfortable, find someone you feel comfortable with, and say something as soon as you can. And I think that's what's important, because years ago, I hate to say it, it was so commonplace. If you said something to somebody, no one could care, and no one could care less. They would say, you're exaggerating.
That's
What
true.
did you do? You brought up years ago, is you brought upon yourself. What did you do? Or if
What were
you
you
went
wearing?
to your, what were you wearing? Or your next job, it was going to happen again. So it didn't even make a difference, unfortunately. And thank God we live in a different time that you can say something. People will take you seriously. It's not acceptable, and you know, people care, and your points are valid, and you should say something.
I hear you.
And yeah, and I hear you, and
Very
that's
good
really
advice.
what it is.
Thank you, Margaret.
Listen, even in my office, my home office. I mean, I could tell you the craziest story. The guy who was living, next door to me was coming in. His shorts were too tight. I know it sounds, and the girls were uncomfortable because he wasn't wearing underwear, and they said it to me. Young girls, and I was like, Jerry, I had to say to Jerry, I was like, go put on a pair of underwear. You puffed up. Your shorts are too tight.
You puffed up.
And it's embarrassing.
Stuck up for
it's
your
true.
girls. They felt uncomfortable.
My girls, they felt comfortable enough, which made me happy that they said it to me. They were like, it's awkward. That they, it made me happy that they could say it.
Great
you,
question,
Margaret.
Phoenix.
I have Jess.
Hi. Hi. I
Hi.
like your dress.
Oh,
you look
thank you.
so
Thank
pretty.
you. Thank you so much.
The reunion can get a bit nasty. How much of it is real and how much of it is amped by the producers? And in general, how much of the show is reality?
I hate to say this, it is all real. It's embarrassing to almost say it's all real. There's no amp by the producers at the reunion at all. Now, a producer never comes on the stage. I think everybody is so irritated from the entire season watching back what everybody says about you. Because I see it like literally when you see it, like a day before you see it. So you don't know what anybody's saying in their confessional. You don't know what's going on. So everybody's so agitated. By the time you get to reunion, you're in the worst mood possible. So that's not produced. Nothing's amped up during the season, but things naturally come out. And everybody is very sensitive. It's like a familiarity breeds contempt. We're all very different. And I think that's why everyone gets, listen, I'm going to just say, like this season, did I say that thing to Jennifer about her husband? Yes, I was very offended from I was upset about the year before how she diminished my sexual harassment, knowing well and good that her husband slept with a subordinate. And then it came out this year in the reunion, she also got the woman fired from the pharmaceutical company. I said it. And I was like, how could you say those things to me knowing all of this? So it was about her hypocrisy. I didn't care what happened with Bill, and that's the truth. It was about her. And I was waiting for a nice apology after all that. Never got, and I was like, you know what, and then I found out what she was doing with Jackie. So it was more about the hypocrisy. I was so disgusted by the whole situation, like what kind of, so that blew up much bigger than I thought it would blow up, truthfully. So that was bad. I thought, we'd have an argument, we'd talk it out, and it'd be over and done with. Half a season. Teresa, I really was just like, address this stuff and it'll go away. Stuff's coming out every week, and her too. Yeah, you're trying to ruin my life. I'm not trying to ruin your life. I don't run the internet. So that blew up also. So you know what? Things happen, and I'm just always shocked the way someone else reacts.
Yeah.
That it goes on and on and on.
It was very hypocritical knowing
Yes.
that background, and she knew that secret had been exposed. She knew about Bill. So
Yeah. Well, it's not like people didn't know.
Right.
And so I was like,
didn't expose it.
No, I didn't expose it, and then I was made out to be like Cruella de Vil of children, and because I don't talk about my children on the show, it was a rough season. I'll put it that
So,
way.
but what happened after, like once you have put all that out there and you come out of the set,
No,
what?
I mean, the women. Listen, fine. I went home. I was like, I said, I didn't think it was going to be. I felt bad because the way she reacted. I didn't think she was going to be so upset. My friends like Dolores, Jackie, Melissa, they're like, all right, we're all like, they were like, they knew about it already. They were like, all right, she'll be fine, and I was like, she'll bounce back. We'll discuss it. We'll talk it out. She'll see my point that she's a hypocrite. we'll work it. That's not what happened.
No,
True,
no,
that is true.
It's not gonna happen.
But the truth is, you said something really valid. She loses her job and he keeps on his nice
I
fancy
said that
life.
on the reunion, and that's what I said. I was like, that's not acceptable, and everybody thinks that's okay. And it does take two people. I'm not saying infidelity is okay. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying that. But it's not the woman's fault. And to make it out like, and that's what's happened to me my entire show.
And at the end of the day, he was the one that made the commitment
Right.
to her, so he's the one
Yes.
that should be punished,
Yeah,
not the lover.
Exactly.
And
And,
Jennifer
that's why
trying to
I've been
bring-
crucified endlessly, and then I was, and I think that's my point that I was trying to make. But everyone was like, "Well, you're trying to ruin her life." I was like, "I'm not trying to ruin everyone's life. Everybody back it up." You
And
know?
then Jennifer trying to bring Jackie into it, and it wasn't comparing.
Yes,
in-
and I think that's what it
in
was.
the right
So it
way.
was
And
very
you're protecting your friend too.
Yes,
She's wonderful.
and Jackie, and yes, and I'm so close with Jackie, and she had such a rough season before that, and I was like, why are we trying to do this?
Okay, back to Justin
All
Michael.
right,
Yes.
next I have Sue.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm just curious. I love your dress.
Oh,
again,
thank
just
you.
to say that.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
gorgeous.
Thank
so
you.
on that note, who would you say is your favorite designer and why?
I'm going to give you high end, and I'm going to give you mid, and I'm going to give you low end. I'm going to
Yes,
give you the
please.
whole
All of
kit
it.
and caboodle. Very expensive Gucci. I love anything Gucci because it's great. Okay, then I love. There's a company called Zimmerman who I just go crazy for. Then I live for Zara. Zara, you know why? They knock off everybody great. They're amazing. Mark Singer shops at Zara all the time. I find stuff there constantly. So it's like I wear everything. This is a company called Ghani. So I buy stuff expensive. I buy stuff inexpensive. I mix it all together because that's what works the best. That's like
Definitely.
real
Thank
stuff.
you.
And listen, you want the truth? Anybody could wear a really expensive outfit, right? It's about the mix.
It is the
It's
mix.
like when you could wear Zara and mix it with like a Gucci belt or something. That's like then you have real style that you can make it look good.
Justin has the Gucci
Wait,
belt on.
I have
see
a
that,
question.
Justin, right there. He's
Way
a
to go,
fashion-
Justin.
fashion
I have a
trendsetter.
question to Margaret. Talk about legging gate. That's what I call it.
Which
The
one?
leggings. Talk about
the
leggings.
legging gate. Oh, so true. You know, they cut out part of that at the reunion. It was funny. Teresa has her leggings, the Love, Love, Love collection. And she said my butt looked jiggly. Now, I didn't get that upset when she said that and that my butt would look better in her leggings. I was like, I'm not wearing your leggings after you've like had a huge fight with me, and I'm going to support your brand, but also as a charity event. And my theory was we're not about someone else's brand when we're doing a charity. That's to me that was inappropriate. So I was like, no, I'm not caving. I was like,
I
I don't
agree.
care. You girls could cave. I'm not caving. And I did feel that. So the fat shaming was part of it. After she fat shamed me at the dinner when she was like, Margaret never misses a meal, I was like, all right, that's enough
Not women
already.
empowering women.
Yeah,
not at
that's
all.
not, you know, this day and age, we don't do that.
I agree.
Yeah, but, you know,
Especially with
but I don't miss a meal. That is true.
right, especially
you
with
love
eating,
your food.
I love,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
You
to
love
eat,
your
so, you
food.
know, I don't miss a meal.
especially with eating disorder, which is
And which
Jackie
we're
going
discussing
through
it on
that.
our show. That's, I know, not the swiftest move.
Oh,
Hello.
Hi.
hi.
Oh, I didn't know post.
So you always look so fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Lucy.
Do you have a glam squad or do you do it yourself?
Lucy, I'm going to tell you the truth. It takes a village. I do. You know, I do. I have two people who come to do my makeup. George Miguel, one guy, George Miguel, and this woman, Marty Patrices. I alternate between the two of them. And I have one person who does my hair, Julius Michael. But I wear a lot of hair pieces because my hair looks like crap half the time but my hair's short like this, but this is like half a little hair piece. I slap it on. Everyone makes fun of me. So
You never look like crap.
thank you. No, meaning it's if you saw me in the morning, I look like Chicken Little. That's the running joke at the house. They're like Chicken Little woke up. My hair's sticking up. But I do have people come do my makeup often. I've gotten very lazy with doing my makeup because I have very bad ADD and then I get distracted. The girls yell at me. I'm putting my makeup on. I'm on the phone. I can't get out of the house.
It's a great picture of you in the book, by the way.
Which one? Oh, with my hair sticking straight. When I went to FIT, I used to have very punk rock hair.
Punk rock with a little bit of mullet on the side too, right? It's
Yes.
great.
I always had crazy hair.
Justin
love
has
it.
another question from the audience. He's
Have
working his way
Naisha.
around.
Hi,
Love that
Naisha.
dress, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, me and Seema wanted to know, what would the woman you're becoming say to the woman you were?
Oh, the woman I'm becoming, the woman I were. Also probably get a prenup. In my first marriage, I made mistakes. You know, protect yourself more, think more of yourself, because that is true. You know, listen, and I love my ex-husband. He was over this morning. He had to pick up something. He's adorable. We're very close. But I'll tell you, I didn't have my name on my first house because he was 20 years older than me. He had lived there. You know, I didn't do, you know, you feel bad. For some reason, if someone old, you know, he was older than me. He was like, Margaret, I'll always take care of you. You don't need your name on the house. You don't need this. What are you worried about? I never had bought my own car. I mean, I was 24. He was 44. I moved in with him and the 3 kids. He would go get my car. Do you know I never bought my own car until I moved into my house when I was 42 years old? It was crazy. I was like, I didn't even know how to buy a car. It was like insane.
And you
look
couldn't
where you are now.
choose the
I
brand.
I couldn't choose a car. It was like he would come home. I mean, granted, listen, no one was running a benefit, but it was just a weird control thing. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I felt very weird.
It's so funny because in one hand, you know, you're building up Macbeth and you are like, you know, going up, and then, you know, you're not looking into your backyard.
Yes, and a lot of women do that. And it was just a weird thing. So when I still drive the same car that I bought myself. It's an old Range Rover. I have a weird attachment to it because that was the first car I ever bought. And I went and I moved out. And I went and bought my own car, and I paid cash for it, and I was like, I'm keeping that car, and I'm not getting rid of it. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That's so cute.
You have success on your own terms. I love that. That's
I
great.
wanted to know, you talk about compartmentalizing things. So you go to work, and then you come home, and you know how to put them both in different compartments separately. How does that work? Because a lot of us come home with the work, we're at the computer till 9 o'clock. You know, how do you do that? Because I know you said you wanted to remain happy, you wanted to take care of your family, that was your priority. So talk to us about doing that.
Right, my office now is in my house. It is very hard. I watch Marge Senior does a very good job of compartmentalizing. And I think I learned it from her. And I will say, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism that I learned, but I think I had to do that a lot in my first marriage because I did work a lot. I had a tiny son. I would travel a lot for my business, but I knew when I got home, they were my priority. So I knew no matter what I had to do when I walked in that door, I had to shut off everything about my business. And I think I learned very quickly to do that. I think it's hard now with people with we're on our phones and the social media, but I make a concerted effort. I yell at the girls also, like the girls I film with. We go out to dinner. Everybody has their phone out. I find that very offensive. Joe really taught me that also. He's like, Margaret, put your phone away, put your phone away. So I find it's very important to try and remain present, whoever you're with at that moment, because it's insulting. Not to. And I think it's like, you know, people are like, you know, with your kids. When I'm with my family and with my kids, I'm 100% with them. I'm not distracted. And I think it's very important, whoever you're with, you're not distracted. It's really about the quality of the time you're with them.
And it doesn't take that much to just flip your phone down
No,
on the table.
I put it in
Nothing
my
that
bag. I don't
urgent.
even want it on the table because then if, God forbid, it rings or something happens.
I think that's a good
I love the
lesson.
fact I had a stepfather I call my dad. He's rest in peace. I love how you love your kids. And you do mention that they were not your biological kids. But
You have one kid.
I have one biological son who'll be 26.
But the stepchildren, who she doesn't call stepchildren, she calls her own children. I love that relationship. It saddens me that there's one still not having a relationship with you.
It's very sad. It's, you know, again, and everyone always, it was funny, even Andy had said something just on the reunion, about the therapy. You know, my kids, they were 8, 14, and 16 when I got married the first time. Met my ex-husband, and we had full custody of them. They're now, I can't even think, how old is Brett? I mentioned him because he was on the show with me. He's if I'm 55, he's 46. Wow. So one son's 46, one's 43, and one's 40, and then my son will be 26. So I really raised them since they were little. Yeah. And we were all, I would say our family was amazing, amazing. The best our marriage was tumultuous. So it was very hard. So by the time I got divorced and left with Joe, everybody was out of the house except our son together, who was 15. So I was very taken aback that our relationship became so strained because they weren't close with their biological mother. And it broke my heart. I couldn't believe it. So now things are better with my, thank God, with my middle stepson. Just my stepdaughter, my daughter, things are strained still. Joe has 2 children also. We're very, very close. That's why he flew today to Denver to see his daughter. And then his son's in a PhD program. So the redeeming thing is my son is very close with his brothers and sisters. Like the kids are all close, which
That's
makes me
amazing.
happy. And my kids are all happy and successful. But that was the hardest thing on me. And it's very, that is
But they
hard.
were like, the feeling when you read the book is like, they were abandoned by their
Yes, their
biological
mother. My
mother.
ex-husband, we had custody of the kids. They didn't see their mother. And I think by the time when we got divorced, I think it was an abandonment issue. There was other deep things there. Though I would never, move and leave my children under any circumstance. There was other things going on
And
there.
you
And I
put a
think
lot of
life
time in.
is complicated.
You put a lot of time into those kids, so
No,
I'm
I
sure,
did.
I'm
And
sure
listen,
that those relationships will come back just like many
listen,
others.
I pray, I hope I do the right thing, and thank God one is a lot better. My son who lives in California, and then I'll be making my way out there.
I have
so
a
things are
question.
better.
Yeah, sometimes relationships like that are surprising, and I'm sure that's all going to work out because you're a wonderful person.
thank
So I'm
you.
sure it's
I
going to
mean,
be
listen,
great.
we
And
can
we all learn from that. But is there somebody on the show that really surprised you that maybe in the beginning of the season you didn't think you were going to hit it off with, and you had some problems, and then they became a closer ally? Anybody that surprised you in any of the seasons
And it-
that you became closer with that you didn't see that in the beginning in their personality that you were going to really hit it off
Dolores
with
is
them?
my best. Like she's really one of my best friends in the world. My first season, she was best friends with Siggy.
Okay, I remember.
And they don't
Ziggy,
talk at
yes.
all. And I mean, I don't think anybody saw
It's
that
all about the
Dolores
cake.
and I would be we're beyond close. Like we had dinner the other night. We talk every day. Like she's one of my best friends.
Oh, I love that
And I think
turnaround
that
story.
is so funny because I don't think anybody saw that coming.
That's great. And those relationships happen so much in life that something can happen and later you realize you see something so different in the person after time, and there's forgiveness and everything.
Yes,
so.
and I think personality-wise, we are very similar. She's very charitable. We do a lot of charity work together. We have a very similar sense of humor. She's close with Frank. I'm actually very close with Jan, my ex-husband. Though
She
he doesn't
sure is,
like to
too,
film.
with her ex.
Yeah, she's very close with Frank.
Frank,
he
too
doesn't like to
close.
film. So
That's
I
great.
think a lot of people didn't see that coming, but over the years, our friendship has really built a lot.
I see that you both have great personalities and are
Yeah, she's
so
a-
funny.
She's
So
a
I
doll,
can see that
and
relationship.
Yeah, so she's
Great.
I'm very
Justin,
lucky
is
to be
there
close
any
with
more
her.
questions from
I
the
have
audience?
Lisa.
Hello.
Hi.
You are so gorgeous.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank
And
you.
Thank you for being so authentic with us. It's been so real.
Oh, thank you.
Excuse me, I have allergies.
Me too. I feel like I'm like.
Oh, I hate it. So you did talk a lot about being an entrepreneur, and I feel like this may be redundant, but what is your proudest accomplishment as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, I'm trying.
That's a good one, Lisa.
I mean, probably still being in business, but no, I would say my proudest accomplishment, probably. Lexi, let's think. I mean, I feel like all my accomplishments, meaning like big and little. I mean, maybe being the first tech brand in Walmart, female tech brand, because at the time I didn't know it. This is embarrassing to admit. When I went into licensing, this is the way I'd pick my licenses. This is so ridiculous because I knew nothing about it. I would go. I was a small, relatively small company. I had Lexi, another woman, Janine, that worked with me. What did I know about tech accessories? I go into the company. I call up Lexi. I go, these guys are so good looking. I was like, I swear on my life, I go, they want to give us $15,000 just to sign the contract. Should I take it? They're like, are they cute? Yeah. What did I mean? Is that crazy? I mean, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I was already, I was like, and she's like, yeah, take it. I was like, okay, what did I know? You know what I mean? So I take the deal. I was like, they were. I said it was nuts. Meanwhile, they got me in a horrible lawsuit with these other guys years later. But I made a ton of money from them at the time. And they're like, yeah, MJ, we're going to do this. I would go to Vegas with them all the time. And they got me into Walmart, the first female tech brand. And they're like, you're going to be in Walmart, you're going to be this. And everyone's like, you don't want, oh, Walmart. Yeah, meanwhile, you sell Walmart, you make a ton of money.
Yeah,
so everyone, so that was like a very big deal for me. So I was like, this is so amazing. And then I'd go into Walmart, and there was like a huge, 8 feet of like, Macbeth collection. And it was a big deal. Like $10 million a year, like stuff that costs like $1.99, like to Walmart, that's a big deal.
Wow.
So I was like, that I was so proud of. And now I'm still in Walmart, with my beauty brand under a different label, under Candy Couture by Margaret Josephs. And like to have that sustainability that I still do that, and people don't even realize it, and that's expanding. That's a big deal to me.
That's
so I think
amazing.
that's my
yeah,
proudest
a lot of women
thing.
are not in tech, so that's like
Is,
amazing in itself.
Thank you.
How's the situation with Macbeth right now? Is it still?
Yes, it's still, yes, I'm still in licensing. COVID definitely, like right when I got on the show, I was having issues because I had a bad lawsuit. Then I built it back up because it's all licensed. I don't make my own products, which is great, and that's doing very well. But during COVID, some people went out of business. We had a great luggage line, but people couldn't bring in luggage from China anymore because of the tariffs, and then COVID hit. You couldn't get containers in.
Right.
We couldn't do that. We're in pet products. We're in glasses. We have a beauty line. We're just launching loungewear, which will come out fourth quarter. So that'll be great. So I'm very blessed. That's doing well. We're launching a mocktail line that we actually own called Soiree.
Can't wait for that.
Lexi and I. That'll be out in July, which I'm excited about. That we own. So that's because I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol.
Yes.
Not only do I get a headache,
The
post-traumatic stress disorder. But I've been working on for over a year with Lexi. We put a lot into it. It's only 45 calories. It's very elevated taste. So we're excited.
You have to bring it here in the
Oh
show
yeah, I
for
will
us
bring
to
it.
taste.
We'll
We'll
have an
definitely
event.
advertise
Yeah,
it for you. We
so
love
we're
that.
excited. But we've been working on that.
Sounds like you were reinventing yourself with COVID.
Yeah, so
too.
that's
Everybody
what it
had
is.
to change what they were doing in business. It was such a hard time
Yes,
for
and no,
everybody.
Macbeth
every
is still doing
entrepreneur.
great, but I feel like also Housewives doesn't last forever, right? TV doesn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever, and I need, we both need something, a legacy for like our kids and things like that. So
that's
How's
great.
your podcast going? I was so excited to hear that you have a podcast.
Thank you. Yes, our podcast is going great. We like to have on entrepreneurs. Everybody does such a great pop culture podcast, like in the Bravo world. We have one, same name as my book, Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget. We have on all different entrepreneurs from all different walks of life, anybody who's a disruptor in an industry. So it's going well. We do it twice a month. It's anywhere you can find your normal podcast, Apple, Spotify, and yeah, it does very, very well. We have on very interesting guests. We love to do it. It's really a labor of love. I love having on people. Everyone finds it very inspiring, and it's been doing well. We did that right before the pandemic hit. We used to have a great studio in the city. Now we do it out of my house, which, but it's great.
Podcast is amazing. Justin Michael is a big fan. I think he's watched all of them, right? Do you want
I
to say
know.
something
We
about
do
that,
it.
Justin? Do you
Yes,
have a question on that?
we video them, but everyone does the audio as well.
I wanted to know, the name of the book is Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget. Now, growing up as a child, you always got what you wanted. You always got what you wanted, even coming all the way up to adulthood. So what does the title of that book mean to you? What does it mean?
No, because I started my company that way, Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget, right? I always wanted something bigger. Same thing with my mother. Listen, I shared a bedroom with my mother, as a little infant, as a little girl. We only had a one-bedroom apartment because she was a single mom. She left my dad when she was 21. She had me when she was 20. She left my dad because he was abusive when she was 21. We shared a bedroom. But I never wanted anything. Marge Singer always made sure I had the best outfits, everything else. But it was always like, caviar dream, a tuna fish budget. We didn't have a lot, but I never knew we didn't have a lot. Yeah. And when I started my business, it was like on a hope and a dream, right? I had to borrow money from my husband, and I had a little factory. We were always like the little engine that could. So we always had like bigger aspirations, and it didn't matter. And that's where the title really comes from, because I always had a bigger dream, but from a humble beginning. And I think that's really what it is. So it doesn't matter as long as you keep dreaming about it. I don't care. It's funny because my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law probably always wants to kill me. He told me 1,000 times, give up, close your business. You're not going to survive this. This isn't any good. And I was like, no. And I always say my success is 50% delusion, 50% determination. Because if you don't believe your own hype, no one else is going to believe it. If you don't feel like you're going to be successful, if you you have to get those negative thoughts out of your head.
It is positivity, definitely confidence, and then perseverance. I mean, like you said, you blossom later in life, and all of these great things are coming to you.
No, it's absolutely true.
I mean, we all can do this. We all have this opportunity.
No, you really do.
And then we have Justin Michael has another couple questions for us from the audience.
I have one last one from Ruth.
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 So I'm going to say Servus Margit.
Oh, Servus.
Okay. So I never knew any of your Hungarian story until the reunion, right? I lost my husband 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And he escaped Hungary in 1956.
Oh, like March Sr.
It was amazing. He had already passed when I watched, because I had to binge because Steve was sick for so long I didn't watch the show. But it was
How
like
old was he?
He was 67.
He was 67.
But the fact
He was
that
a little boy.
somewhere he brought down Hungary to you, to me.
Oh,
so
that's
thank
so
you.
sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. What was his name?
Steve István.
István.
Yes,
That was
Igen.
István. Igen.
Uh-huh.
Persze.
And that's great because it's like Marge Senior's birthday.
Yes.
That you brought back a lot of that culture and
Yes.
stuff, Ruth. And did you see
75th.
that? Yeah. So many awareness about that.
I know. Oh. Oh, thank you. You're so
She's the
sweet.
best housewife,
Oh,
that's for
thank
sure,
you.
right?
You got to
That
come
is
visit
for
us.
sure.
You got to come over, see Marge Senior.
We're sorry for your
That's so
loss.
sweet. Kichi. No, Alpha like that mingan shuka. That's what I said. It means I forgot a lot. No, this is so crazy. Just the woman who does our nails, mine and Lexi, she's Hungarian, Monica. She's done Lexi's nails for 5 years. But now I'm like, now I want to do everything Hungarian. Now I'm only going to someone Hungarian to do my nails because I feel like
Getting
I've
into the
lost so
culture.
much of it. I didn't speak English till I went to kindergarten, and now my Hungarian is so, I could read it, I could understand it, but to spit the words out, they just don't come out. Terrible.
We want to thank the audience for all your awesome questions. Let's give them a round of applause. We thank you. You can tell you have a lot of fans here
Thank
today.
you so
Margaret
much. This was so
Joseph.
great. So nice that you guys all came out.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this was our first live show. So we're so excited that you're our first guest.
Oh,
we're
I'm
so
honored.
excited. The Gab.
Public.
And do you have
Live
something
public.
else you want to say?
Yes, I want to say thank you, Margaret, to have taken upon this first step for the Gab show to be our first guest as a public
Live in
live.
person.
And I also wanted to say that the first time I did met you at Dress for Success, you immediately put people in such a nice, comfortable way, like we have met each other and be together forever.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you so much for being here today.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
for somebody that's such a celebrity, what Gabby said, you were so approachable. You were so good to women. You're good to the Dress for Success women, some of them being here today. So everyone loved you. Everyone's
Oh,
a big
that's so
fan of you. We love
sweet.
Jackie. We love you. But
that
you were
night
just
was so special. That really
and
was
you
such
stayed
an amazing
after
night.
and talked to all the fans. You were the last one there. They had to drag
Yeah,
you
I
out.
know, we left.
They were taken off to the restaurant without you because
They
you were
left.
still
They
talking
They
to us.
dumped me. I had such a good
I felt
time
bad,
that
but
night.
you really
We were
gave a lot of
together.
yourself.
Yes, we had such a great time.
So thank you for giving all of these words of wisdom and letting women know that they can be successful at any age. That's so inspiring to all of us as we go through divorce and, later in life or reinventing ourselves and becoming entrepreneurs. Is there any last words of wisdom that you want to give to the audience that we haven't covered?
Wine distributor.
That is very important.
Very important.
And we all do love the relationship that we have with your mom after writing the book. Make sure everybody gets the book, Caviar Dreams on a Tuna Fish Budget.
Thank you.
It was just so inspiring, and I love that you have that great relationship with your mother and that she supported you in this endeavor, which is so important.
you.
So thanks for being
Thanks
here.
so much.